Brad Lively here with another Truth Facts. Today I want to talk to you about patience. Patience, I believe, is a key to healing and restoring broken relationships. It's a powerful key that I think can unlock healing. And I really want to encourage you with patience. So let's look at our love and fear tree quickly. Over here we have a heart that believes the truth. It believes that love is the most powerful force in the universe. And so because of that, it grows a tree of love, which produces trust. It produces a trust in love. And so then fruit is born. And today we're going to talk about the fruit of patience. Patience comes from love. Over here, we have a heart that believes a lie, that they can do it better, that their way is better than love. And so it grows a tree of fear. And fear is a belief system. It's a belief system that your way is better than God's way. And it leads to control. Control is the fruit of fear. And today we'll talk about impatience as a fruit of fear. So to illustrate this, I want to read a parable. And a parable is just what Jesus used. It's a story that Jesus would tell to teach the people of Israel about the ways of the kingdom, about the Father's heart. And this parable is mainly about forgiveness. But in order to be a forgiving person, I believe at your core, you must be patient. Because to give forgiveness means that you are acting in patience. So let's read this parable with that in mind. It's in Matthew 18, starting in verse 21. Later, and I'm reading from the Passion Translation. Later, Peter approached Jesus and said, "How many times do I have to forgive my fellow believer who keeps offending me? 7 times?" Jesus answered, "Not 7 times, Peter, but 70 times 7 times. The lessons of forgiveness in heaven's kingdom realm can be illustrated like this. There once was a king who had servants who had borrowed money from the royal treasury. He decided to settle accounts with each of them. As he began the process, it came to his attention that one of his servants owed him $1 billion, a lot of money. So he summoned the servant before him and said to him, 'Pay me what you owe me.' When his servant was unable to repay his debt, the king ordered that he be sold as a slave along with his wife and children and every possession they owned as payment towards his debt." This was common practice back then. The servant threw himself face down at the master's feet and begged for mercy. "Please be patient with me. Just give me more time and I will repay you all that I owe." Patience equals time. You see, he asked for patience, he was asking for time. So patience is giving God time to work. If you're struggling with someone who's not doing well, patience gives God time to work in their life. "Please be patient with me, just give me more time and I will repay you all that I owe." Upon hearing his plea, the king had compassion on his servant and released him and forgave his entire debt. So because this king was patient, not only did he give him more time, but he actually canceled his debt. Patience leads to forgiveness. It leads to debt cancellation. In other words, patience is mercy. I love it. I just love this illustration because it just shows the fruit of a patient heart. You know, the proverb says that a patient man has great understanding. And this king really came from a place of understanding. He knew the struggles of man. He knew just the weakness of man. And he acted in that understanding with patience, forgiveness, and mercy. No sooner had the servant left when he met one of his fellow servants who owed him $20,000. He seized him by the throat and began to choke him, saying, "You better pay me right now everything you owe me." This is a beautiful illustration of impatience. This is what an impatient heart looks like. Impatience is abusive. It can be abusive physically, mentally, emotionally. I've seen impatient people abuse people with their words, cut them with their words, cause great pain with their words. It's very unmerciful. It demands perfection. And when you can't live up to that perfection status, it brings immediate judgment. One thing that you see from impatience is it produces a dark atmosphere. It produces an unsafe feeling in the hearts of those that are being shown impatience. This is not good. So parents, with your children, I know they do things over and over and over and over again, and you just want them to stop and you want them to get it. And so we have a tendency to get more and more impatient with our kids, with the idea that if I make it so uncomfortable and so unpleasant for them, they won't want to do it again. Well, that's never the case. Either they shut down and just do what you want them to do because they want to avoid the confrontation, but it doesn't mean that their heart is healthy, or they get more deceptive. They hide from you. They run from you internally because you're not safe. And so we as parents need to provide a safe atmosphere for our children so that they'll be vulnerable with us, so that they'll come to us with their problems, with their mistakes, and with their issues. This is a huge, huge thing in parenting, that we parent with patience. We just have to know that there is a process that our kids have to go through to learn. And usually that requires them making the same mistake a bunch of times, just like we did. I don't know about you, but I make a lot of the same mistakes over and over again, and it takes me a while to figure it out. But eventually, I figure it out, just like they do. But I need someone to be patient with me in the process. So this guy here immediately grabs the guy by the throat and demands payment. It's the exact opposite of patience. His fellow servant threw himself face down at his feet and begged, "Please be patient with me. If you'll just give me time, I will repay you all that is owed." But the one who had his debt forgiven stubbornly refused to forgive what was owed him. He had his fellow servant thrown into prison and demanded he remain there until he repaid the debt in full. Impatience imprisons. Not only that, because it's a method of fear, it produces division. So this impatient man separated himself from this other person, imprisoned him, which is what we do in our relationships when we act in impatience. We build a prison of fear, and we build a chasm, a division between us when we walk in impatience. I'm telling you, it's very unhealthy for the relationship. Patience heals. Patience brings a safe place for people to share their heart and to be vulnerable. Impatience breaks. It divides. It imprisons. It imprisons the one you're showing impatience, and we'll see here in a minute that it imprisons you, the one who is showing impatience. When his associates saw that what was going on, they were outraged and went to the king and told him the whole story. The king said to him, "You scoundrel, is this the way you respond to my mercy? Because you begged me, I forgave you the massive debt that you owed me. Why didn't you show the same mercy to your fellow servant that I showed to you?" In a fury of anger, the king turned him over to the prison guards to be tortured until all his debt was repaid. In this same way, my heavenly Father will deal with any of you if you do not release forgiveness from your heart toward your fellow believer. So we see that the one who showed impatience was also imprisoned and tortured. There is no good fruit that comes from impatience. So we should not honor and celebrate someone who's impatient. I work in the medical field, and I don't know, it's amazing how impatience is honored almost. It's like, oh, everybody tiptoes around and honors it and gives it what it wants. And this is why impatience is so rampant, because we become a slave to this type of attitude, to this type of behavior. And nothing about it is good. So I want to encourage you that patience will bless your relationship. Yeah, it requires faith. It requires that you trust in the power of process. And it might require that you walk through mistake after mistake with your children or your spouse. But if you keep it a safe place, your children or your spouse will grow closer and closer and closer to you. And the connection will be stronger and stronger and stronger. And they'll figure it out. So everybody wins. And the family just gets stronger and stronger. All right. I love you guys. I hope this was an encouragement to you. And until next time.